All right, so here it is, a side-by-side between Forloh and Origin Field Explorer. A little bit of background, I've been looking at transitioning my hunting and my outdoor kit to things that are 100% made in America, and these are the two brands that stood out to me the most, that look like they were gonna meet the needs for what I'm looking for out of hunting clothing and a hunting line. A little bit of background, I spent a lot of time hunting in Southern California, Central California, Arizona, New Mexico, places like that. So I really need something that I can layer and build into a system that's gonna work for early mornings that are, you know, mid to low 30s, and then middays that are in the upper 70s. That's not uncommon for the places that I hunt. So it's important to me that these things layer really well. And these are the two American made lines that look like they were going to meet the needs, but there's also not a lot of information. They're both relatively new. Forloh, full disclosure, Forloh's been doing this for quite a while, quite a bit longer than Origin has. So it's a little bit of an unfair advantage that way, but when you're out there making decisions and spending your money, you know, we want to see what's going to work. And because of that limited information, I wanted to make a video that kind of compared and contrasted these two things, and so that you could make some better decisions. And hopefully you're looking at transitioning your gear and getting away from some of the stuff that you wear now that's made overseas and getting into American-made companies. And these were the two front runners as far as I'm concerned. So we'll jump right into it. The first thing that I'm going to go through is the shirt. Now, also another full disclosure piece. I really wanted to like the Origin stuff better. I like their pattern a little bit better. I think it's a little bit more versatile for the places that I go and the things that I do. And I own other things from Origin. I own one of their gis, some of their rash guards. I'll continue to buy things. They do a great job. So I really, really wanted this to work out. So I'll jump into, and again, on this, I'm only going to be reviewing a few of the items that I could buy that were going to be kind of a direct line comparison. So the start of my kit is going to be my field pant, which is incredibly important to me, and then whatever my standard kind of long sleeve t-shirt and mid layer is. So that's what I'm running with right now. That's what I'm going to compare. So we'll start with the Origin Hunt. This is their Highland camo. Really dig the camo. I love the tiger stripe camo. I think it's really effective, and I also just like the way that it looks. I think it's cool. This shirt is also one thing that you should know. I am 5'8", I'm about 190 pounds, so I get stuck like right in between things that are maybe a medium length, but a large width. You know, my back and shoulders and chest are a little bit, you know, they're a large, and then my sleeve length is usually a medium. So I buy large shirts, and they generally fit me pretty well, and that's kind of what I go with. I bought this in a large. I tried it on. It's more of like an athletic cut, and which I like, which is what I want, but it was kind of snug even at a large. And I think the other thing too is the material is not super stretchy. It's kind of thick, which also is not a bad thing. It's quite a bit thicker. Right now I'm running Under Armour in my kit, and I have like one of their Under Armour like long sleeve tees, so they're kind of thin and stretchy. I was glad that this came out a little bit thicker, but it also doesn't really have the flexibility that I'd be looking for. And also it just it's made like a brick shithouse. I mean, it's really well constructed, but I think because of that, it also doesn't articulate as well. So being the fact that it was a little bit snug, and the fact that it's kind of made so well and rigid, it's not exactly what I was looking for from a top. The material, this is their, I forget what it's called, their Tetraloc, I think is what they call this. But it's got like these kind of breathable eyelets, and I'll give you an up close on that as well. The only thing that I would be concerned with here is that, you know, some of these little eyelets, when you're going through some of those like thorny brushes and briar brushes, this stuff's going to get snagged, and I could see, you know, some strings pulling out. I haven't field tested either of these things. I've just tried them on at the house briefly to see how they fit and to get a feel for what I liked. And so that was one of my main concerns, was a little bit of the fit and then the flexibility, but also this material, just because of the way that it's made in the places that I'm gonna take it, bow hunting and stuff like that, getting under things in the trees, in the branches, in the brush. I could see this getting snagged on stuff and kind of pulling, could be an issue, but I could be wrong, it may not. So that is that, and give you a little bit of a close-up on that guy in a second here. Now we'll move over to the Forloh shirt. Now this thing is incredibly thin. This is essentially, you know, rash guard material. If you've ever been surfing and worn a rash guard, it is very, very thin, very, very, very stretchy. And or if you haven't ever worn a rash guard and you're not in a place where surfing is a thing, if you've ever had just like a standard Under Armour kind of running shirt or athletic shirt, those long sleeve kind of stretchy material, that's pretty much exactly what it is. This is much more in line with what I'm wearing now. And so I'm a little bit partial to this. I think that, like, you know, it doesn't need to be super thick as this like mid layer or this hunting t-shirt, but it needs to stretch and articulate and move. It's obviously not going to be as warm as the Origin shirt because it's so much thinner, but for me it does do the job. And so I'd have to say that if I had to give the edge, it's also very, very well made. It looks like both of these are 100% sourced and made in America. They're really well made. They stand behind their craftsmanship. So I think the confidence there goes either way. But I am partial to the Forloh. So when it comes to the top, I have to give the edge to Forloh. This is going to end up being a part of my kit moving forward. And this will be probably one of the first pieces that I transition my kit to, transitioning to American made. Now the field pant. This is probably the most important part of what I was looking for. I think on the t-shirt side, I think everybody can make a decent kind of t-shirt that works, or a mid layer or a base layer that works. So I wasn't overly concerned, but the pants are really important. I do a lot of, you know, bow hunting, so there's glassing and sitting for long periods. There's moving around and moving quietly through places, and then just being a little bit more rigid, relatively windproof. I can throw a jacket on that's going to help me with the wind, but the pant, you know, unless you're going either with a top layer above it or one or two base layers below it, you know, like a base layer and then maybe like an insulation, like a thermal layer, you know, you want to make sure that the pant is what you need and does what you need it to do, and you get from it what you're looking for. So the pant was really important. So I'm going to start with the Origin again. Really well made. Virtually, I would imagine these things are like bomb proof. I don't think you're going to be sending these back anytime soon to get repaired, or, you know, to action the warranties. They have all the like YKK zippers. Really, really well made. They have two pockets on the edges. They have like these baffle pockets, and they have these zippered closures. You know, for hunting and stuff, no big deal. They're pretty quiet. The material though is their Nyloc material. It's 99% nylon, 1% spandex. So very little stretch to it. It does have like a little bit, but very little. And it's just not what I was expecting. I was hoping that, you know, given the background of some of the folks over at Origin, they might kind of mirror the issued gear. I was in the Army, and you know, we get some gear that's like the soft shell material, but it doesn't have the fleece backer, and it's pretty stretchy, it's pretty windproof, relatively quiet, and I was hoping this would be more along the lines of that material, but you know, it feels to me, and again, you know, they're figuring this stuff out, but this feels to me like really well made and thin, like, you know, kind of khaki or chino pants that you might get, or maybe just like your run-of-the-mill like cargo pant that you would buy from another hunting outfit or another hunting brand. And you know, for the price point, I just expected a little bit more from it. I don't know. Again, I just tried it on at the house. I didn't field test it. I can imagine it's going to do the job. It's just not what I'm looking for from a hunting pant or a field pant. I don't think it's going to work really well with like the way that I want to layer my kit and what I already have. It's just a little bit too thin. I know that they treat this with some water resistant properties, but I just don't imagine that it's going to stand up all that well to it. And the material, I don't know if you can kind of hear that on my mic, but It's that nylon material. Seems relatively quiet, but you do get a little bit of that, that rubbing, that friction sound. And they may break in after you wash them for a little while and wear them. That might go away, because that is common, that happens. But right now, like out of the bag, I think you might run into a little bit of a noise thing if you're doing a lot of bow hunting and trying to get up close to things, especially if you're in like a dry environment where those branches are running against the material sometimes. I could see that maybe being a consideration. As I mentioned before, the other part about this is the fit. As I mentioned before, I'm about 5'8". These are a 34 regular, and they were way too long. There was a ton of extra material. They're not a baggy fit. They're not like a tight fit, but they're just kind of like a regular athletic fit. But there was a lot of extra material around the bottom, and they were just way too long. So, I mean, if you're going to buy these, if you're normally wearing like me, I normally wear like a 33, 32, 34, 32, sometimes a 34, 30, depending on the pant. If you're in that height range, the regular is going to probably be a bit too long, and you're going to have to get these things hemmed. I didn't love the way they fit, so it's kind of where I landed with that. I'll give you a little bit of a close-up on some of those features as well. So moving on to the Forloh pant, these are kind of the same in the way that I feel like they're bomb-proof construction. They look really good. They look really, really well made. I did not field test these. Now these are 80% poly, 14% spandex, and it really shows with the elasticity of them. They're really lightweight, really thin. I mean, honestly, this is kind of like maybe like I know it's going to be tougher than this, but it's like almost like a yoga pant material. It's like a really, really thin and stretchy. And so again, for me, for my kit, these are probably not what I'm going to end up with. I don't think that I'm going to be able to use these for most of the things that I do. I know they have a all climate pant. Those seem like they might be a little bit overkill for what I'm looking for. But again, this is probably just not 100% what I'm looking for. Really, really cool features. I mean, they have zippers on the front. I shouldn't say really, really cool. I should say standard kind of features for what you'd expect from a hunting and a tactical pant at this price point. But these also fit much better. This is also a 34 regular is what I purchased these in, giving a little bit of room for a base layer or a thermal layer underneath. These fit much, much better. They're much more comfortable because of the stretch factor. They're just as well made, and I would say that if I had to give the edge, I'm giving it to, again, Forloh on these. They just meet the needs a little bit better. They're a little bit better constructed and a little bit better material, in my opinion. And I think these are just going to end up working out a little bit better if you're looking for like an ultra lightweight summer hunting pant. These are the SolAir pant, and I think these are going to be, likely what somebody would want to end up with if this is what you're looking for. If you're doing a direct line comparison, I have to give the edge again to Forloh. The last thing that I'm going to go through is their headwear. This is a little bit of an unfair comparison because Origin does not have any kind of headwear. Again, they're brand new, launching their Field Explorer stuff, so they don't have really a complete kit put together yet, but I'm sure based on the way they do everything else, they're going to catch up quickly and they're going to roll this out. But if you're going to be putting your hunting kit together, you probably want something that's relatively complete. Headwear, neck gaiters, things like that. That's all part of it. Forloh does offer that. Again, this is like very, very athletic. If I had to make a direct line comparison, I'd say it's pretty close to what you'd expect to get from like a Under Armour, athletic hat. And as most of their line is, it's kind of technical and athletic hunting gear. So I have to give the edge to Forloh overall big picture. If you're gonna go out and spend your money as it is today and you need to redo your kit and you need to buy new gear, I think if you're like me and you're looking for the same things, you're looking for technical features and materials and kind of like an athletic fit line, Forloh, hands down, I think has the best product right now as it is today, January 18th, 2023. Going through the rest of it, I think if you're going to give the edge and you have to decide the pattern, I give the edge to Origin. I like the pattern a little bit better. I think it's a little bit more versatile, and I think it just kind of looks cooler. It's that's just for whatever that's worth. If that means anything to you, I think it looks cooler. I like that kind of like a military tiger stripe camo pattern. I think it's really cool. So I'd have to give the edge to Origin. But the overall, if you're trying to build a system, if you're trying to transition to American-made goods, which I absolutely recommend that you do, it keeps jobs in manufacturing here, which is incredibly important. I would say that Forloh has my vote, and they're going to be the company that I start to build out my kit with until Origin maybe catches up a little bit and gets a little bit more traction on what it is that they're making over there, which I'm sure they will. I very well could transition over to Origin in the future. Hopefully this has been helpful, and hopefully a little bit more in-depth knowledge helps you make some better buying decisions. I know this is a little different than my regularly scheduled programming, but I wanted to make sure that I put this out there because it was important to me. I'm like one of those people that just does a ton of research ahead of time before I buy anything, and I try to be really conscious where I spend my dollars because I think it makes a difference, right? So I want to spend it here in America. I want to spend it on products that people in America are building and buying, but I also want to make good purchasing decisions and make sure that I'm able to get the usage out of those things, especially at the premium that American-made's good come at, because there's not very many people doing it and there's not a lot of manufacturing here. So the more money we put into American-made goods, the more likely those prices are to come down, and the more opportunity and the more diversity we're going to have in the products that are available and things like that. So any questions, let me know, and back to your regularly scheduled real estate and mortgage programming.